All right, so this is Illustrator. So for you guys to open it up, why don't you go ahead and get it opened up while I'm explaining and introducing the user interface. But if you just type in Illustrator over here, it'll pop up and it's CC 2015. Yeah. So if I don't know if any of you guys have any knowledge with Adobe programs in the past versus what they're like now, but I do want to give you guys a heads up if any of you have used it in the past and you're kind of reintroducing yourselves to it. The Adobe software packages have moved to a cloud-based server subscription service. And what that means is you can actually sign up for Adobe, the entire Adobe Master Collection at a student rate. It's a subscription for 20 bucks a month. But let me see if you can just see all the different packages that we have. We might not have them all, but it's not even listed here. That's weird. All right, well, maybe they only have the design suite. But anyway, the student package actually will get you Illustrator, which is for vector line work, Photoshop, which is for raster image editing, InDesign, which is for books and spreads and magazine editing, type fonts and stuff like that. It'll get you Sound Booth, which is an audio editing software. It'll get you Premiere Pro, which is a video editing software. It gets you Flash. It gets you Bridge, which is for like file organization and stuff like that. It'll get you, well, a whole bunch of different things. Anyway, there's like a package of like 40 different programs that you'd have access to for 20 bucks a month. I absolutely encourage you to sign up for that subscription. Because the possibilities with these software packages are just endless. And not to mention, it's not just any old video or image or audio editing software. It is an industry standard software package. People who win Emmys and Grammys and stuff are using this software. Maybe not all the time or for everything, but it is a pretty industry standard type of software editing package. So anyway, this is Illustrator, and the way that these programs are laid out is very similar to everything you've seen before. You've got your file menus and stuff up here. You've got toolbars on the left, toolbars on the right. In fact, these are actual tools, whereas these are more settings and panel tabs and stuff. So if you pop them open, you'll see that they actually have different features to them and stuff. So what we're going to do is open up a, let's start by creating a new file. Yeah, we'll do it that way. So, well, actually, yeah, we'll just do a new file. So, when you go to File, New, what I want to point out here is that it looks a little bit different than many of the other program packages that you've seen before. For instance, if you're used to Photoshop, I don't think we did any Photoshop settings here. Yeah. So if you've seen Photoshop, you'll see, or in any other raster image-based processor, software package, usually what happens is the resolution is based off of points per inch, or DPI, dots per inch. What this is giving us is essentially the size in points, right? So that's your aspect ratio is width versus height. The difference here is that because Illustrator is technically a vector-based software package, meaning that it's kind of like AutoCAD where it doesn't really take all that into account, what we would do is just say what size we want the page to be, and it would essentially kind of be unitless, because when you size it up or size it down, the actual quality of the line will scale with it. So the line is always going to be a perfectly calculated line in three-dimensional space, well, two-dimensional space. So for us, you'll understand that a little bit more later on. But anyway, you can name this up here, and so I'm going to call this, I'll just call it Whitney. You guys can call it whatever you want. Yep. And you'll notice here that there's this thing called number of artboards. Leave it as 1 for now. I'll show you what it means to change it later. But we're going to change the width to, let's do this on an 11 by 17. So 17 by height, 11, landscape.
11
And
by 17 or 17 by 11?
11 by 17. I don't think it matters. If you put it like this, it'll swap it around anyway. Yeah, 17 by 11. So the units should be inches. And don't worry about bleed. That's a little bit more of an advanced kind of setting. You also can change the color engine, I guess you would call it. I forget what it's called. But anyway, raster effects. So you can change the quality of when it rasterizes it, what the output is, if you'd like. But 300 ppi is pretty standard. And then hit OK. So this, what you're seeing, the white space, this is your artboard. In the artboard, you essentially have objects that you can place on it, and it behaves very similarly to the way that the AutoCAD, I don't have AutoCAD open, but the AutoCAD layout space works, in the sense that the page exists in a larger environment. So if I grab my zoom tool here, it's right there on the left-hand panel, and I hold Alt. So the zoom tool, if you left-click, it zooms in. If you hold Alt, see how it's got a little minus sign there? Positive, minus, plus, minus. Keep clicking and zoom out, and you'll see that the artboard actually exists on a larger space. This is used because if I go up here to this document setup panel, and I go back into edit artboards, I can create more artboards of varying sizes.
Can you make a set of panels?
Huh?
Can you make it?
The
The panels?
artboards? Document setup, edit artboards. Now I don't want the extra artboards, I only want 1. I just wanted to show you guys how to do it.
I'm confused. Are they more like, is it like synonymous with canvas in
Yes.
Photoshop, or a layer?
Canvas or a sheet. Yeah.
How do you get back to your view? Because I zoomed in and I don't know where I'm at and how to get out of it.
All right, if you zoom in too much and it's all white like this,
It's actually off, like all gray.
well, either way, you can right click and just go to zoom out. I think that there's a zoom all somewhere. View, window, I'm sorry, where is it? I don't know, I don't do this enough. Fit artboard in window. There it is. That should do it.
Is that in view? Or in window?
View. View. Or fit all in window if you have multiple artboards. Anyway, so this is the artboard. This is where we're going to do our work. We have in Rhino, yeah, we didn't export this yet. So we've got a 2-dimensional group of line work that we're going to export. So I'm just going to select all of that. Say File, Export Selected. And what you'll see is that you actually have the option to export this directly to an Adobe Illustrator file. I don't know that there's a huge advantage to either or. The benefit that I see to changing it to AutoCAD first is if you're cutting, not necessarily in this case, but if you guys are cutting a building section, you know how you might have 2 surfaces that connect and you've got to like trim and fillet the radius to get it to look clean and hatch it? I would suggest doing that in AutoCAD first, because trimming and stuff in Illustrator is not easy. So, just a thought. Anyway, that's not our concern right now. So we're just going to go straight to Illustrator because we know we don't have to clean it up. And I will call this one under, where am I? CAD Lab. Well, no, I put it under my file. Whitney. Actually, I'll call this one Whitney Contour. So I called it Whitney Contour because I named my other Illustrator file Whitney. So I'll save that. Snapshot of current view. No, sorry. I don't want to use that. I want to do export. Did I do export selected?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. So why is it asking me for... Never mind. Anyway, it should be fine.
Which one you choose?
Export.
Alright, Whitney Contour, save it. Snapshot should be fine. Hit OK. So when you get into Illustrator, you have two options. Well, yeah, you have two options for placing an external file into something that you've already set up. So you can open the file on the side. So I'm going to navigate to that location. And open it up. Came in really small, that's fine, no big deal. We'll get back to that later and clean it up. Or you can do what's called place. Opening a file, I think, gives you a little bit more control over layers and stuff, because what happens is when you're doing like a building section, if you use place, it'll flatten all of your layers into one layer, essentially.
When you erase it, it's kind of like...
Oh, well, after you've placed it? Was that your question?
Yeah, it's kind of like
You just
you
open it
erase
up
it.
and
Well, I'll get to that over here. So the other option is to place it.
in Illustrator.
Okay, so once you did that, one over here.
So place it.
Sorry. So the other option is to place it. And so that actually brings it in as an object that borrows all the properties of the native file. So if it's an AutoCAD file and it has layers, it'll come through with the layers. Or if it came straight from Rhino and it has layers, then it'll have those layers. And it's under File, Place. And you can just select that AI file and place it. Oh, interesting.
Interesting, there's no placing.
Okay.
Maybe because it's open?
No, I don't think so. I'll try it with it closed, but I've never seen that happen before. Odd. Alright, well the method I know that's pretty foolproof is AutoCAD. So let's export this as a DWG because it's giving us an error for some unknown reason. So I'm going to go back and do export selected. This one I'm going to make an AutoCAD DWG file and I'll call it Whitney Contour. Default scheme is fine. Go back to Illustrator, go to File, Place, and select that DWG. Place. So this one, see how it's going to let me drop it in? This one drops it in as an object. And it looks like this. But I need to kind of like fit it onto the sheet that I'm working on right now. So if I grab the selection tool right here, right? So that's the black one. The direct selection tool is a little bit different. I wouldn't mess with that one right now. But the regular selection tool is right here. What you'll notice is in the corners here, it creates a little white box, little thingy. If you hover over it, it has a stretcher mark, right? So this little diagonal with the arrows, that means that when I select it, I can stretch. So Control Z will undo just like any of your other programs. But I'm basically just going to slide this thing over by clicking somewhere on all of the lines that I have selected and dragging it in. And then I go down to the corner and I'm just going to pull that in. And notice how it actually skews it.
Control Shift.
I'm just clicking and dragging right now. So notice how it actually skews it if I don't do anything and I'm dragging. Best practice is hold Shift. If you hold Shift, it will scale it proportionally. All right, so right now I'm not necessarily concerned with scale. I will design in the scale a little bit later, but also take a look at what just happened, right? So I had all this information selected. It's, I've got these blue, really thick, curvy lines, and then I click off of it to deselect. You can either hit Escape or click off of it, and they disappear. They're all there. I can see them as I'm hovering over. That's actually pretty cool looking.
How do you do that?
It depends. So it depends on your lines, what color they were when you exported it. So mine happened to come in under the black line layer. For some reason, it converts it to white. It's odd. So anyway, now I need to show you how do you change the color of the line work, right? So if you click and drag, just like it's AutoCAD, you can pull open a window, a little selection window. Or you can just click on any of these lines inside and you'll select it. So once you've selected them all, is this grouped? Yeah, it is grouped. You can ungroup it, and now you can select each one individually. Or you could leave it grouped. You probably want to leave it grouped for now. So with all of these lines, notice how when I deselect it, it says up here in the top left corner, no selection. And then when I select it, it now says group. So this is telling you what type of object you have selected. It's also giving you options. And notice how some of these are changing, right? That all changed over there. Some of it's kind of standard. But that's your palette for your simple visibility settings. And so simple visibility settings would essentially be, this one is a fill. It's not intuitive, so you guys need to pay attention to this part. The one on the left is a fill, and you'll know that because when you select it, it's going to show a fully colored swatch, right? And so wherever there's a closed curve, it's going to fill that. If you want no fill, it's this red slash. The one on the right is the line color. So you can have jet black, which is this little target one, or you can change it to some other color, like red. But we're going to stick with black for now. The other thing that you can change is the line thickness. So I can go as light as 0.25, which is very, very light. And let me zoom in a little bit so you can really see the difference here. So that's very, very light. Or you can go up to something a little bit thicker, like a 0.5. That actually looks really cool. It looks kind of creepy, huh? Anyway, you probably just want to leave it on like 1 at this scale. So when you zoom out, this is essentially where you get your whoa, it's black now. So this is where you get your base background upon which we're going to sketch and diagram and analyze and understand this particular site. Okay, so I gave you sort of just a few very basic, functionalities there. What I would like you to do before we move on to starting to diagram things is to get to that point. So what questions do you have?
Can you explain the difference between those two right next to stroke to the left?
Yes.
What is the difference between the crosshair icon and see, I only have the crosshair and the red dashed line. I don't have that selection of colors.
So this is a palette, and the palettes can actually be saved and preloaded.
Oh, I see.
So I forget. I'm not great at editing these, but you can change the swatches to different sets. I never really modify those unless I have to. So, but if you need to make a new one, you should be able to click New Swatch. I can't for some reason. I need to select one and then click New Swatch, and then in here you can change your CMYK values, or you can change to RGB and play with it. You should be able to. How do you go to True Color? I thought you could do a color wheel for it, but maybe not. Then you have to go to RGB. Anyway, you get the idea, right? So what other questions? Okay, I'm going to make sure that we're all here before we move on.